I want to thank the anonymous person for sending me such amazing knives to check out on this channel. He's known as the Shadow Man, and thank you. I really appreciate everything you do for our channel. Your support is absolutely amazing. Thank you, brother. Bang! Neeves Knives. I'm Jared. My lovely wife, Kara, is busy, and today we are checking out the Medford Praetorian Genesis. Let's get into it. So, this knife's overall length is about 7 3/4 with a 3.3 inch blade. Quick size comparisons. Here is the Hinder XM18 3.5, and you can see how much longer it is. And then here is the Benchmade Griptilian. Which is a lot longer too. And let's find, here's the Spyderco Mannix. Just a little bit longer. This knife's really not that big. Here's a bug out. Benchmade bug out. I think that'll be about the right size. Well, because of the glass breaker, it's a little bit bigger. Let's see what else we got. It's pretty close to the Kershaw Knockout. There you go. A lot of people know the Kershaw Knockout as of right now. I will say this is definitely a shock knife, like one that you pull out and you can shock people with or surprise people with. It's definitely a knife that catches people's attention, and yeah, it's definitely a knife that's good for that. So it's not a really big knife or anything like that, but it's big in another way. So it is a Japanese Tanto S90V, hollow ground right here, and then a flat grind up here. Titanium, all titanium, and it is made by Medford Knife and Tool. So what do I think about it? First off, I did use it. Okay, so I did use it. I cut up some cardboard. I've been trying to break it in a little bit more because it was a little stiff, and it's been a slow process on breaking in, but you know, it did get a lot looser than it was. I can middle finger flick it, and I can thumb flick it. It does take a little bit of effort. I don't know if I can get it if I just sit here upright with no wrist. Oh, I can still get it. Let's see if I can do the thumb. Yeah, so it's loosening up a little bit, but the lock bar is so doggone strong, and you can slow roll it. Stop pins are right there. I do like the strength and the build quality. That's great, but there's a lot of things that I really don't like about this knife. Now, if you own it and you love it, that's awesome. I mean, you know, not everybody has to love every knife, and you know, whatever, but I think it's a little bit of a novelty. I think Greg said like this was his FU knife when people were saying he couldn't build it, but you know, the blade stock it's thick. The thinnest point right here is like 22 thousandths behind the edge, right at the very edge. But you know, even though it is a deep hollow grind, it's not a tall one, so it quickly gets up to a very thick blade stock. Then up here, you know, it's such a thick flat grind up here that the only thing I could think of really using it for is prying. So with cutting cardboard, you know, I found myself really getting held up, like trying to push through it. You know, I could do it, and you know, depending on the cardboard and the cuts I was making, some of them went through okay, you know, not bad, but then others, man, it was like trying to push a brick through. It just, you know, wasn't it's not the best blade geometry, let's just say that. And then it's so sharp, it's like like hanging on to like a porcupine. Like everything is sharp. Like where my hand lies right there, all this is sharp. I mean, really sharp. Like I feel like I could cut paper with this. I mean, I can almost use this as a like a saw. I mean, it is very sharp, and I wasn't using gloves. Now, if I was using gloves, it might be a little different, but in most cases, I'm not going to be like cutting up cardboard or cutting stuff up with gloves on, you know. Now, on the job site in the cold, yeah, I'll be wearing gloves, but even on a construction site, most of the day, I don't wear gloves. I mean, sometimes, like if I'm carrying wood or forms or something, maybe, but anyways. So the ergos, you know, even though like my hand fits in here okay, you know, it is a little snug though. You can see that right there. Like it is a little snug. I'm barely making it, but everything's a hot spot. This clip is a hot spot. Right here is a hot spot. Right here is a hot spot. Right here is a hot spot. So it's like I'm just like hanging on to a porcupine. Now, you can take advantage of this little choil area right there, but then your fingers are landing on this jimping that is just, like, look at how much contact I have. I mean, if I go to use my thumb and go to push, no, you don't want to do that. You just don't want to do that. So when I was trying to do cuts, I was kind of like trying to just do this, but I was finding these really digging into my hand right here. So the glass breaker back here, I'm sure works great. I didn't practice it or try it or anything. These are smoother than one of the other Praetorians I tried though, which is nice because these were really sharp on the other one I tried. So that's not bad. The action now, the lock bar is very strong, and they put this little chamfer in, even though you can see the lock bar. So putting this little cutout right there, maybe it was necessary, maybe not, but it's so thin, and with the lock bar this strong, it's not bad doing it once or twice, but like say if I said open this thing up 10 times, you know, after the third time, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse, you know, as it goes. Now, I know this isn't a fidget knife, so I'm not like saying, oh man, it's got bad fidget factor or anything. It's not that kind of knife, which is fine. But that lock bar is extremely strong and eventually does get your thumb nice and sore. And I don't have I have very calloused, beat up hands. So, but I do like a strong lock bar. I'm not complaining that it's strong. I like a strong lock bar because it tells me that this thing is very locked up. And, you know, the chances of it failing is very, very unlikely. The lockup is early, but very strong. Even if I push on the lock bar, it doesn't move. No lock stick whatsoever. I love that. There's a lot of things I like. I love the big hardware. I love the thickness of the titanium, the blade stock thickness. You know, like I said, this was kind of his FU knife, so I know it's not, you know, it's kind of supposed to be a novelty, I think. In the reverse grip, it's more comfortable to me than in this grip. Isn't that weird? In the reverse grip, it's more comfortable than in this grip. Whatever. But to me, I feel like this is a tool. I was cutting up cardboard with this, and then I pulled out this thing. Whoo! Night and day difference, boy. Night and day difference. But yeah, cutting with it, it's not really that kind of knife. I feel like it's more of a tool. So a prying, a scraping. If you need to do a cut, you do a cut. But it's like a one cut type of thing. You know, you snap a strap, you cut something open really quick. But it's not something that is made for cutting. It's really not. It's absolutely not made for cutting. It's made for making a cut, but I feel like you'll do a lot better off prying stuff, you know, maybe just slicing something open, you know, stuff like that, you know, scraping something. And yeah, that's where I see it shining at. Because when I try to think of a knife like this, especially as expensive as it is, where does it shine? What task could it do best? Like, who's it for? What kind of person is it for? And I really can't think of anything but like that. But somebody who wants a pry bar and a knife all in one. Somebody who wants a tool. Always, like, you could bash with this thing. You could do a lot of damages. Now, another bad thing, this clip I don't like because see how it hangs off the... it didn't carry bad or anything, but I feel like if I jumped up in the air because of the weight and because the clip doesn't hang on very tight, I feel like it's going to pop out of my pocket. Now, I don't wear really loose pants or anything like that, but I also don't wear skinny jeans. So, you know, like, if I'm hanging upside down out of a tree or, you know, I don't know, whatever I'm doing, crazy, I'm worried that it could fall out of my pocket. The detent is nice. The action is pretty stiff, though, which I know is normal, and it'll eventually break in completely because it's getting a lot better than it was when it first showed up. I don't think I could middle finger flick it without doing a wrist flick before, but it still has some work to do. You see where it's at. Now I can slap it, give it one big slap, and the weight of the blade kind of takes it down. I love the crack too when it opens up. That's very nice. The choil's done pretty decent, but I do feel that the plunge grind is real close. Like, actually, you see it. You see how it gets a little bit bigger, the bevel? So it's right there. I like how this is stone washed in here also. That's pretty cool. Because this is all like satin. This is a belt satin. And then this is a stone washed. I like that. There's a lot of things to like. But I like a knife that's a knife. And I want a knife to be a cutter. I like a cutting knife. Now, don't get me wrong. I love a work knife. I love a knife that's a tool. But to me, a knife is a tool for cutting. And this is still a great tool. I'm not saying I don't like it. So I don't want anybody to take it that way. I just wish, like, this, you know what would make this thing perfect? Is if this was a full hollow ground blade. Even if it stayed a Tonto, just a full hollow grind. I mean, and if these were knocked down, if these were just chamfered or knocked down, then this thing would be so badass. But it's not. And it is a very thick blade stock, and the grind only goes up that tall. So once you start cutting into stuff, now the behind the edge thickness isn't that bad, but it just doesn't have long until it gets to this thickness. So when you're cutting into something, now you got to push this through it. So it is what it is. I mean, that's, you know, Medford has some really awesome knives. I've tried a few of their knives, and I've liked all of them. They're all great knives. The fit and finish is amazing. The build quality is top notch. I love the strength in the build. But I just can't really see myself carrying this aside from if I needed, unless if I needed a pry bar and a knife for the day in one package, or if I'm wanting to shock somebody, like if I'm wanting somebody to just pick up a mean looking knife. That's, you know, and I guess that makes sense because that was, you know, like Medford said, you know, Greg Medford, he said it was his FU knife, you know, the one that everybody said he couldn't do, he couldn't make it, nobody would buy it, and he did it. So there you guys go. I love you guys. Peace.